stay-at-home dad, watching Disney movies he never had. His daughter digs through all the VHS, crushing the classics in a princess dress. Informed like Scuttle, Kurt's got your ticket, making it real like Jiminy Cricket. Most are off the Captain Hook, but if the Tweedledum, he'll be taking more shots than Bambi's mom. Leave him raised like Simba, or cracked like the beast dishes. He'll show you a whole new world, you won't need pre-wishes. Stay-at-home Disney dad.
Today we got Ben and me. What is this? I'm equal parts excited because this looks wild and equal parts nervous because, Ben Franklin was a real person who had incredible historical merit. So I'm not sure if adding a mouse sidekick is, the best idea, but what the hell? Let's press play. That's why we do this. We start with a school trip where the kids are learning about Ben Franklin in front of his statue. And while the human kids learn about Ben, there's a mouse field trip taking place on the statue's hat. They're learning about Amos, the mouse, who was actually the brains behind Ben Franklin. Bold storyline. Let's go! Amos the mouse had a family in London. They're hungry. They're getting chased by a cat at the 1500s. They sail across the sea in a teacup. Aloysius was a painter mouse over to Jason the mouse, the first champion of rights of mice. So this is a history retelling where mice actually were behind every academic, social, and political advancement at the time. I mean, there's been worse retelling of history in the last few years than this, so let's keep going. There was a mouse on the Mayflower, and the Pilgrim mice landed on Plymouth Rock. Now we go to Ben and me. Ben had a lot of brothers and sisters. They were poor, so he ran away to make something of himself. Although I have never seen this before, ever, the animation style and the voice of Ben are super familiar. This is giving off like Christmas cartoon vibes. He's trying to find work and shelter and ends up at Ben Franklin's place. We meet Ben and he's a sneezy bumbler. A mob wants to break down the door and they want his rent and he has 24 hours to pay up. Every time Franklin sneezes, he breaks his glasses, so Amos fixes them by making a pair of bifocals by accident. See, he took two broken pairs, an outdoor and indoor one, and he put them together, made bifocals. He also invented the oven. Amos the Mouse sounds so damn familiar, not Ben Amos, I gotta Google him. He did voice acting for the Walt Disney Company, playing Mr. Stork in Dumbo, Adolf Flower in Bambi, the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, Cod in the Jungle Book, Rockford, the mouse in Aristocats, and the title character in Winnie the Pooh, among others. Moving on. He tells Ben to rename his paper the Gazette and make it full of news so people can read about current events. Amos goes out and spies on everyone in his little mouse body. He gets dirt on everyone in the city, then relays it back to Ben Franklin, who then writes about him in the newspaper, just making friends at every turn as Mr. Franklin. They use this ramshackle printing press and print the Pennsylvania Gazette. The paper gets out in the city, and they're all wrapped up in the scandalous revelations. It's a success, and now Ben can pay his bills, and Amos can have cheese. Now it's here. I was going to add some controversy to this review. Because there's articles about the real man, about the stuff he published back in the day. If you Google it, some claim if you read between the lines in a lot of his writing and opinions, there's a much darker, disturbing side of Ben Franklin than anyone remembers. But I don't know. It just wasn't that funny. It was dark. And I love dark humor, but it felt gross making fun of these theories. So I deleted it. I chose not to share. But, back to cartoons. Whenever Ben went out in public, he kept Amos under his hat. Wait a minute. As the years went by, Ben's reputation grew over Amos's hard work, but Bumbler Ben is now obsessed with static electricity. Now he's flying a kite with Amos in it. I should probably mention there's also a giant metal antenna on it. The clouds roll in, the kite gets struck by lightning. Ben becomes that flashing skeleton, classic animation. The years that followed were troubled ones. Rumors of violence over proposed taxes sent Ben to England to plead his case to the king. He returns. They want to know if the king will remove taxes. He did not, so they declare war for independence. Ben has no idea what to do. Amos wants to help, but after the whole getting electrocuted breakup thing it's still looming, so he doesn't go and help Ben. Years later, Ben comes calling for Amos, asks for forgiveness. Ben needs Amos's help making big decisions. Ben will sign any agreement Amos drafts about their friendship. So he writes up a contract for him and Ben, but just as Ben reads it, Thomas Jefferson, with his own declaration, claims he's been whacking his brains and can't come up with anything. He needs an intro and an extra, and Amos reminds Ben of their contract, and as he reads it, Tom Jefferson hears the intro Ben wrote, loves it, and steals it. On July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was read, and that's all thanks to Amos the Mouse. Out of the flashback, we get the conflicting human and mouse retelling of history in front of the statue, and man, this storyline is way more prominent today than it was when this was released back in 1953. They had no idea. They had no idea people were going to try to retell history, right? Also, Ben Franklin apparently made jokes about bestiality all the time. Come on!
That's what I think about.
Ben, you've got to help me. Of course, Red, but I've been racking.
What do you think?
What we have is a concern about Curtis Anderson. His interviewing style is not the best. His personal appearance is not the best. I was wondering if the man has some kind of a hold over the channel that he's allowed to be employed for so long with the standards of journalism and personal appearance that he has. Thank you.
Okay, Macy.